Okay, folks, I might kick it off if that's okay with everybody. And I'm sure others will join us in the next couple of moments. So, morning, everyone, and welcome. Great we get to gather here today, in spite of the weather. One of the advantages of virtual meetings. So, my name is Ed Heffernan. I'll be doing a little bit of an intro here this morning, and I will host a Q&A at the end if we have time. Though I know James has a hell of a lot to talk about. I think this man could talk about recruitment forever if we gave him the chance. So first off, folks, we of course would not be here this morning if it was not for Contracting Plus, whose generous sponsorship and indeed partnership make these breakfast briefings possible for us all. So Contracting Plus, as some of you may know, are key partners for many of our members involved in contract recruitment and sourcing. And they offer quick and compliant setup for new contractors, provide contract training and information sessions for you and your teams. And they have really, really good in-depth insights and research on various sectors within the contracting industry in Ireland, a kind of a think tank, if you will. So if you're working with contract talent in Ireland, do be sure to give Amy, Jenny, or Jen, or Jimmy a shout. They're good people. So guys, now the theme of today's meeting is the recruitment profession future ready? Okay, and I'm personally very excited, and I'm sure we all are, to be joined by one of the leading minds in recruitment globally, Mr. James Osborne, okay, who's going to be unpacking how we can, I guess, ensure our profession is ready for tomorrow. So some of you may know James, some of you may not, but James is an award-winning business consultant, advisor, and entrepreneur with an international board-level background in the staffing and recruitment sector. I guess ultimately as GM with one of the largest HR and recruitment service providers in Australia. As Chairman and Chief Growth Officer, great title, James, of the Recruitment Network, okay? James works with recruitment business leaders, helping them to achieve significant growth, performance improvement, and competitive advantage, acting not only as a non-exec director, but as a consultant, trainer, and strategist for numerous fast-growing recruitment businesses. So it's a treat to have you here this morning, James. Welcome, and over to you, I guess.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Ed. I've never been introduced like that before, which is very kind of you. Thank you. Basically, what I am actually, I'm just a normal bloke trying to figure out what's going on in our industry. That's all I am. So pleasure to be here. Thank you to the ERF as always. Thank you to the guys at Contracting Plus as always for your support. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to run through a bit of a presentation, a bit of an overview. I'm in a bit of a pumped up mood at the moment. I've just come out of an event we did yesterday in London with about 100 members. Had an amazing day where we were talking about AI and the developments in AI, and we were building AI agents, etc., which was a lot of fun. I'm actually coming over to Ireland next month, where I'll be doing the same as well with some of you guys as well, if you're interested in joining us. So you're more than welcome to come. But what I want to do is I just want to share some thinking and some ideas with you about what is going on in our industry, looking at where we've been, and as much as anything else, what do we need to do moving forward to make sure that we are future ready? Our industry, our people, our businesses. I've also just noticed that picture is very old of me. I look very young in that one, which is great. So I'll take that one. Thank you very much. So let's get into where I want to sort of talk about today. I've been talking a lot about this thing called the recruitment revolution or evolution at the moment. Our industry is going through a massive shift, which I think is really, really exciting. I don't want to sensationalize it, so that's why I put the R in brackets, because I think this is just an evolution of what was happening in our industry anyway. But I think for some people, this is a massive, massive shift right now. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. I've got about a dozen what-if questions. I just want you to think about and ponder about as we go through this morning. And these are some questions I'm asking all recruitment business leaders and senior level and recruiters, for that matter, within their businesses to go, what is actually happening within our industry? So let me do a few what-ifs for you. The first one, what if there isn't actually this big bounce back that a lot of people have been expecting coming? And actually what we're in at the moment is actually the new norm. What if the fundamental principles of recruitment haven't actually changed from when I started in recruitment 25 years ago, but maybe what has changed is the wrapper of how we do things. So maybe the core stuff that we've always talked about is still the same. That's fine. That's great. It's what it should be. But actually maybe how we get there and how we do things is different. What if a recruitment company could today be actually half the size it was maybe 5 years ago, but twice the profitability? I've been working with lots of recruitment organizations at the moment who we downsized. We've made them smaller, but they are far more profitable than they were before. So, gone is the ego of how big is your headcount and have you downsized your headcount? And now what it's about is driving growth and driving profitability as much as anything else. What if customers actually desperately wanted to use the services of a recruitment business, but maybe just not in the way that we are currently delivering or packaging those services? What if to doing new business development, which a lot of people have been finding very hard, isn't actually difficult at all? It's just different. We just need to think about doing it in a different way than maybe we have been doing it in the past. What if all of your monthly overheads were covered by one of your recurring revenue products? We talk a lot about contracting and the importance of contracting. And right now, I can't think of any business that I would want to speak to if they haven't created some form of recurring revenue within their business, whether it be contracting or other products that matter as well. What if all of your short-term relationships with your customers completely shifted to being long-term partnerships? So you locking in your customers contractually and emotionally, you're embedded within their businesses as partners rather than just these arm's distance short-term suppliers. What if your prospect customers actually invited you, therefore, into their boardrooms rather than into their meeting rooms? So they wanted you to come in and talk to them about talent solutions for the future, to work in partnership with them arm in arm, rather than just come and pick up a job in the meeting room. What if you could double the average spend of those typical customers that you are currently working with? One of the things we spend a lot of time talking about with the company I advise is around the average customer lifetime value. And how do you do, what are you doing to increase the share of wallet that you've already got? What if there was a new wave of talent, a new type of recruiter coming into the marketplace at the moment? We just need to understand how to attract them into recruitment, how to onboard them into recruitment, how to train them properly, but then at the same time, how to use their skills to help us be better at what we're doing when we're running our recruitment companies. What if the average GP of a recruiter in our businesses shifted from that typical 120,000 euros that everyone keeps talking about to maybe 300,000 euros? What if that was your average GP of the recruiters within your business? What if your marketing activity at the top of your funnel could directly impact the revenue at the bottom of the funnel and you could actually measure it? You could see that happening. For every euro you spend at the top, you can see how many euros it's generating at the bottom. What if there is actually more to social media than maybe just posting pictures of your babies, just so you get likes and followers, and probably in most cases from irrelevant people, people that don't necessarily or will ever buy from you? What if we could actually become significantly less reliant on platforms like LinkedIn? I've got some examples at the moment of members I work with, excuse me, and companies I work with where they've actually got rid of LinkedIn licenses completely. And they now found other ways to service their client base and source talent without having to invest in LinkedIn. I'm not having a go at LinkedIn, but just as an example. What if AI could actually humanize recruitment instead of dehumanizing it? One of the reasons why many recruitment companies have been quite stagnant in their AI approach and their AI strategy, and they haven't really embraced it yet, is because they're fearful that it's going to replace recruitment, it's going to dehumanize recruitment. But actually, what if it does the opposite? And what if this whole transformational shift that we're going through right now as an industry is pretty much what our industry probably needed in a marketplace where for many, many years, a lot of very average or poor recruiters for that matter have done pretty bloody well just because the market has had to use them. Now we're going through a bit of a transformational shift. And it's the really good recruiters now are the ones that are going to do really, really well. The really good recruitment organizations that ones will take the market share. So therefore, what if this might just be one of the biggest opportunities you've ever had for you and your business now and go and take market share? There is plenty of business out there. There's plenty of really good business out there. If we can think about our approach, our strategy, and we adapt accordingly to what's going on in the marketplace. Well, I'm really excited by what's happening in the industry at the moment. Really excited because I think this is one of those transformational moments that we go through every now and then, where weak businesses won't survive, but the really good ones, the ones who deserve to survive, will actually thrive and do incredibly well. And we're seeing this already. So what if you were going to rebuild your recruitment business from scratch tomorrow? Thinking about all the things I've talked about, thinking about all the things that you've probably thought about over the last year or so as you've gone through this year. What are some of the things that you might shift, do differently? Maybe you should do differently. And most importantly, what are you going to do differently moving into 2026? So these are the questions we're asking people at the moment. I had an event a few months ago. We had about 250 of our members together for a couple of days as an offsite. Amazing couple of days. We recorded every conversation, every presentation, everything that happened over the course of those 2 days. And I've distilled it down into this report, which is basically 40 pages of ideas, strategies, workflows, and outputs from 250 recruitment organizations, what they're actually doing, what is actually working right now. And again, if you look at some of these things, we're thinking differently about how we transact in this type of market, how we run our businesses, how we work with our people, what the skills we need within our people, and so on and so forth. If any of you want a copy of that, if you can scan that, that'd be great. If not, I'll send it through to Anna and the team at the ERF to send across to you all afterwards. You can all have a copy of the playbook, free to utilize, and it will give you some really interesting insights, not only about what's going on in your business, but also to understand how you are benchmarking against maybe other businesses that are seem to be doing really well right now in this type of market. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today, about some of those things that are in there. Because ultimately, the recruitment sector is often described as cyclical. We always have these ups and downs, etc., and that's generally caused by what's going on in the wider economy. But I don't think, as I mentioned before, that we're in a simple cycle. I don't think there is some obvious bounce back. There's a lot of recruitment companies, a lot of recruiters who are just sort of waiting. They're in pause, waiting for something really good to happen in the markets to sort of shoot back. The markets are getting better. We've definitely seen a big shift in the last quarter, without doubt. But it isn't going to be this magnificent bounce back. No, we are in a new norm right now. And this new norm has been shaped by massive shifts in technology, especially with AI, structural skill shortages, evolving work patterns, and the changing expectations of our customers that now are different and probably higher than they've ever been before. So we need to think differently about how we're approaching this as much as anything else. We need to look at talent for our businesses and talent for our customers and the whole concept of our industry, of what it really means now, because the concept of talent is shifting and we therefore need to shift with it. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of that shortly as well. The good news, I think the opportunities for good recruiters, good recruitment businesses are greater now than they've ever been. I'm absolutely convinced by that. But we have to think, we have to flex, and we have to think differently about how we're doing that. One of the reasons why I think there's such a good opportunity is if you look at some of the data that's coming out of WEC, out of the World Employment Confederation globally, we know that the majority of organizations, your customers, are also going, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know how we're going to sort out talent planning in our businesses. I don't know how we're going to retain and find people within our businesses because it's just not working as it used to. So your customers have never before needed the help of a really good recruitment consultant than they do today. So we've got to have the skills to be able to get in those meetings with those customers and then have the ability to have those consultative conversations with them to help them build a plan, a strategy with us together for the future that's going to allow them to transact in this market and find the right talent and retain the right talent. So what we're saying to everyone, and in particular in the Irish business, and say when I'm coming over in November, we're going to be doing a lot of work with members and recruiters, a couple of our events that we're running, which is all about how a recruitment business in Ireland can be two things: future fit, and most importantly, future relevant. So there's a lot of relevancy, a lot of recruitment companies are becoming less and less relevant at the moment, that the way they do things is just not working as effective as it could do before. So what does that actually look like? If I was to give you a summary of, I suppose, all the conversations I tend to be having repeatedly at the moment, these would be the main things that we seem to be talking about and the things that we're focusing on. And this makes, I think, a really interesting checklist for anybody on the call today. If you're trying to think about what your business should evolve into over the course of the next few weeks as we lead into Christmas and then into the new year. So we need to be smarter, not necessarily bigger. As I mentioned before, we could be smaller. We need to be AI augmented, not AI replaced. We have humans at the core. Our industry is about people. It's about how human you can be, but we have tech that enables us to drive that human core better than ever before. We need to be deeply specialized, not just generalists. And when I'm talking about specializations, we're talking about getting into the right markets and as deep as you possibly can. So you can start building communities. So your sales strategies becomes about nurturing a community within your specialization rather than just continuously going out to your markets to try and win business. We need to think about our sales machine, our sales engine within our business. None of this to turn it on, turn it off when we get time to do sales. We build a RevOps machine that aligns your marketing, your sales, your customer engagement, your customer journey all together, and you automate it so it never stops. It runs 24/7. We need to think about where we're targeting and which markets we're targeting. There's a lot of businesses I'm working with now who may be based in Cork or Dublin or anywhere for that matter, who aren't just transacting in Cork and Dublin. They're looking at global markets. They're penetrating to the global markets. I've got a business I'm working with at the moment that's doing over 100 million turnover from the UK. 98% of that turnover is into international markets. And then they haven't even got any boots on the ground in those markets. So they've got the ability to be globally penetrating marketplaces. In many cases, we've got recruitment companies now who are offshoring some of their services and their products, and some of their people. So we're now looking at how do we build teams offshore. Used to be in India, used to be maybe in the Philippines, now a lot more in places like South Africa, where we're seeing a huge boom at the moment of recruiters and resources working in South Africa offshored to support the team and the delivery capability within our business in Dublin. We need to be transformational talent partners, not just transactional suppliers. Get closer to our customers, help them go on a transformational journey about what does talent look like within their businesses and how they're going to be an employer of choice moving forward. As I said, we need to get in their boardrooms and stay out of their meeting rooms. We need to build recurring, resilient revenue, no peaks and troughs. This is why Contracting Plus are here. This is why you need to be building a contracting book within your business and also other types of recurring revenue products. We need to be cash and value generative. We've got to stop leaking profit out of our businesses. We need to increase that customer lifetime value, squeeze more out of our existing customers, the ones that we've already got on board and we've already done business with, not just have one singular product that we're selling to them. So there's a whole bunch of things we can talk about. There's a whole bunch of things to think about. But if we want to be future fit and future relevant, we've certainly got to get some of these things on the screen correct as much as anything else. Because the reality is many recruitment companies over the years, and especially over the last couple of years, have been unnecessarily leaking profit because the operating models that we're running just haven't been keeping pace with how the market is changing and how the market is evolving. So if I show you this as a bit of a graphic, there's a classic sort of P&L, I suppose. We've got revenue coming in at the top. We've got our net contribution that comes from that revenue, and then we have our operating profit at the bottom. But the reality is that euro of revenue that we're generating at the top is no longer worth the same amount of profit at the bottom because the costs of winning a new customer has gone up. The cost of candidate acquisition has gone up. The cost of managing our people and running our businesses have all gone up. We've all got more technology within our companies. We're spending more money on license fees. And so it goes on and so it goes on. So the reality is most of our businesses have the same operating model we had 10 years ago. It's generating potentially the similar amount of revenue at the top of that, but there's a far less amount of profit coming out the other end, and we've got to reduce that squeeze quickly, because if we can do that, then suddenly we can then start growing significant higher levels of profitability. Apologies, this is in pounds, but this is a recruitment business I was comparing to the other day. This is a recruitment organization, a typical recruitment company, I would suggest, of about sort of 9 or 10 people, turning over just over £1 million, or just under £1 million, and converting, in this case here, at a very low margin, around about 13% conversion from gross profit to operating profit. And in fact, if you look at the UK in particular, if you look at some of the averages, many recruitment companies in the UK have been converting at between 3 to 8%. So that's 3 to 8% of their gross profit is actually dropping into operating profit at the bottom line. That's like working in the airline industry or supermarkets. It's so tight. It's unbelievable. And the trouble is, if you're converting at that low level and then the market started to become a little bit tough for a few months, suddenly you've got nowhere to go and you're now losing profit and you're now losing cash. This is not recruitment. That's not the industry I came into, and it certainly shouldn't be the industry that any of us are working in anymore. So what we've started to build out is this thing called the future fit agency model, which is a different type of way of running a recruitment company. Similar sort of revenue at the top. You're not necessarily massively increasing your gross profit at this stage, but what it allows you to do is convert significantly higher levels, more like 30%, 25 to 30%, which is really quite unique for many organizations in this type of market. But that's what consultancy firms and professional services firms too, which is what recruitment is actually about. I'm building this out as a whole business plan and a whole business framework, which I'm happy to share with you, which is like an example of what a future fit agency should look like, and how do you therefore convert that or create a 30% conversion off the back of that. Because what we have is this thing called a productivity illusion. And this is what I think is one of the key traits of a great recruiter and a great recruitment business, is our obsession around productivity and efficiency. We are in a productivity revolution right now, which is driven by AI in particular. But if you look at it, most recruitment companies, most recruiters, most leaders, we're good at tracking activity. We spend our lives obsessing about calls made and CV sends and interviews booked. And we've got lovely screens up in our offices portraying all that type of stuff. That's fine. But as we know, busy doesn't always equal effective, and effective doesn't always equal profitability, because there's a problem around this. Staff costs have risen sharply. There's a lot of recruiters, very average recruiters, running around our industry demanding very high basic salaries that just don't deserve it. So our staff costs are going up anyway outside of that. Consultant productivity really varies widely between different seats. So you've got your high performers, your low performers, and your mid performers, and there's such a variety of people. So your great performance can literally be wiped out by a bunch of underperformers. Our delivery models are still too heavily reliant on a few individuals within our businesses, and too much effort goes into a low return activity. So in short, what most recruitment businesses are at the moment, we are not cost designs. We've got legacy models. We're just wearing some form of digital lipstick on top of that, is how we're sort of describing it at the moment. And one of our TRM members at our event said quite simply, we've got a load of consultants there smashing their KPIs at the moment, but they're still not hitting their margin targets. That's the wake up call right now. And they're absolutely spot on with that. A lot of stuff happening, but it's not necessarily hitting the bottom line from a profitability point of view. So we focus, and company I advise, we focus on this thing called net contribution. So here's an example. I just could have screen out anonymized it. One of those classic league tables you have in a recruitment company of your top billers, mid billers, and low billers. And rather than look at it from a revenue point of view or a gross profit point of view, you look at it from a net contribution point of view and a payout rate point of view. So each of my recruiters, once I factor in all their costs, and the cost to deliver that revenue they're generating, what's the actual net contribution? What's the actual payout rate that comes off the bottom of that? And what we're looking for is a sub 30% payout rate. But what we're looking for is everybody to be obsessing about net contribution and profitability. And we need to be focusing on this question: how do we significantly impact productivity? How do we drive up net contribution and then reduce those payout rates of our consultants and everyone in our business, for that matter, moving forward into next year? So then we think about, okay, what's the strategy behind that? What types of people do we need to bring into our business? What are the skills? What are the activities that our recruiters are doing to ensure we're getting the highest return on investment out of them? And at the same time, imagine what you could do with your business if you could then suddenly impact a whole bunch of metrics or productivity metrics that sit around a recruiter. And I just thought I'd map out these. These are some classic examples of metrics that we look at within our business, but very few recruitment companies actually do much about it when we really think about it. And if you could impact all of these by 1%, 2%, 3% each, think about that all added together, the impact that will have on your business. Some of them quite random, down to your email open rates and your website load speed, all very random, and your social media engagement, down to your average deal size or your sales conversion rates and your pipeline deal velocity. So let's think about how we are going to impact all of these different metrics. And those of you who are coming on the AI journey at the moment, certainly with us, hopefully you are, like we had yesterday in London with these 100 recruitment leaders who are literally just transforming what they're doing with their business using AI. Think about how AI can touch and impact positively all of these metrics in your business, because it absolutely can. And that's the exciting thing about all this, is when we start looking at productivity improvement, when we start looking at getting increased net contribution, we can start looking towards AI to support us and do that for us. Because AI is not about speed, doesn't create speed necessarily, it creates space for you, space for your best people to do their best work. And that is what the whole point of AI is all about, as far as I'm concerned. Some of you may have seen me use this graphic before, and I'm using it a lot at the moment, because to me it summarizes a recruiter 101 based on just what we tend to do. So most recruiters I know in our industry are working towards the 80-20 rule, where 80% of their time they're sitting in the office, they're writing email campaigns, they're doing admin, they're market mapping, they're doing candidate outreach, they're gathering insights, they're creating content, writing job adverts, all the administrative side of recruitment, which only leaves them really about 20% of their time left to go out and see customers, be visible, add value to their network, get into those boardrooms with those customers, have meetings with them, and with candidates as well, for that matter, if you're in a candidate short market. So we're spending far too much time on the left-hand side doing the administrative side of recruitment, and nowhere near enough time on the right-hand side doing the stuff that really does make a difference in recruitment from a profitability and a growth point of view. So what do we need to do? Well, quite simply, we just need to flip the 80-20 rule on its head and turn it into more of a transformational model, where 20% of a recruiter's time is spent doing the administrative side of recruitment, and they're now spending 80% of their time in front of candidates, in front of customers, networking, in meetings, etc., etc. Now, this is going to expose some recruiters, because some recruiters won't want to do more of that stuff. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what are the types of people we're bringing into our businesses? Because if I can get AI to do most of that admin stuff, then in theory, the types of people I want in my business, the talent of tomorrow, a recruiter of tomorrow, needs to be someone who loves the idea of being out and about in meetings and in front of customers, in front of candidates, etc., etc. By the way, when I said the old principles of recruitment have never changed, that's what it always was, and it still is the same today. Okay, so that's how we're going to be using things like AI moving forward, and that's how we're going to try and shift our recruiters to basically 4 times amplify the amount of human activity that they're doing. That should, in theory, mean we can potentially push and drive 4 times the net contribution off the back of that. That is very, very exciting when you think about it. 120,000 euro recruiters pushing into 300,000 euro recruiters moving forward. So we've got to squeeze a significant amount of more net contribution from every one of our consultants, but also from our customers and from every placement we make as well. How do we squeeze more profitability per placement, per customer, and per recruiter out of our business? And we've also got to offer a slightly different service to our customers, because The customers, as I mentioned before, our customers are facing an unprecedented challenge right now. They are not sure. They're trying to figure out where to invest, where to pause, where to pivot their talent. And it's now more difficult than ever before for them. So our job is to help them do that, is to help them navigate that. So how do you do that? Now, some of you may have heard the expression blue ocean thinking or blue ocean strategy. I suggest if any of you are trying to think about your secret Santa Christmas presents this year, there's a great book called Blue Ocean Thinking. Get it and give it to everyone in your business, because it gets you thinking differently about the marketplace. And never before, and I've studied blue ocean thinking, blue ocean strategy, and never before has this become more pertinent than it is in this current marketplace today. I won't do a spoiler alert in case you do get it for your Christmas present, but there are two types of ways of working right now. There's one called red ocean working or red ocean strategy, which is what most recruitment companies are doing at the moment. I've just been judging the ERF awards, and I'm seeing a lot of red ocean thinking, red ocean strategy going on. When we're all competing in this existing market space, we're fighting the same competitors for the same bit of market with the same customers. And we're obsessing about, how do I beat my competition? How do I differentiate myself? Or do I just reduce my fees to try and win the business off them, etc., etc. So we're looking at this red ocean. It's like a feeding frenzy of sharks, and there's blood everywhere, which is why it's a red ocean. Bit dramatic for a Thursday morning, but you get the idea. On the flip side of that, we have this thing called blue ocean strategy or blue ocean marketplace, which is basically an uncontested market space where your competition is just completely irrelevant. And this is where you can deliver services at a low cost for yourself, which means you can differentiate by driving up value as well. So we need to identify where the uncontested market spaces are, in essence, where the blue ocean strategy is, and the blue ocean market's opportunity is. And there are recruitment companies today who are doing this, and they are absolutely starting to fly again, which is great, because they're not obsessing about the same stuff as everyone else. They're thinking differently about how they're approaching this, different markets, different products, etc. I'll show you one very, very simple and basic example of this. And this is bringing together blue ocean thinking with a little bit of AI as well. But this is one of the members I've been working with, who's now basically built a recurring revenue subscription part to their business using AI. So basically, they still do recruitment, they still do perm and everything else, but they wanted to also build some recurring revenue, but also as a subscription model using AI. So what do? We built an AI agent with them. So in this particular one was a pay and benefits research assistant to help them provide salary and remuneration data and insights about any particular marketplace. So it could be plumbers in Cork, HR advisors in Southampton, sales managers in New York, etc., etc. And the agent that I built for them, we've given them this agent. They can literally type in their marketplace, and it would produce this incredible report for them about salaries and benchmarking and remuneration, etc., etc. And by the way, if any of you want a copy of this, I don't know what we can do. If you put a thumbs up in the chat or something, or say yes or whatever, we'll send it across to you afterwards. You can have this agent and you can run it in your business for yourself. But what these recruitment companies have done now, what this recruitment business has now done, is they're using this data and these insights and creating a recurring revenue model off the back of it. So this is the report that's been running. In this particular case here, this is around physiotherapists in Leeds. And it starts producing this fantastic whole load of data that you can really interrogate and go deeper and deeper and deeper with, which is great. Now, off the back of that, what they have done is they created this little mini data center. And it sounds very flash, and it's not. It's very, very simple. In fact, we actually built one of these yesterday live in our session in London. And this data center goes out to market and pulls data from a whole bunch of places. So every day, your recruiters are talking to customers and updating your CRM with your notes. That is talking about customer sentiment. That is proprietary data that nobody else has, because there's a one-to-one conversation you had with the customer about how they're feeling, what's going on, what's happening in their markets, and so on and so forth. You do the same thing with candidates. You've got insights around talent. You've got news about customers. You've got market updates, etc. So imagine now, and this is what this business has done, is every day you've got AI pulling all that sentiment data from your CRM and from these different sources into this little place called a data center they've created. And then in there is an AI agent that then literally plays with it, talks to it, analyzes it, and then spits it back out again to your recruiters to give them new sales leads, to your resources to help them identify what pools of talent they should be creating, to your marketing team with a whole bunch of new blogs and content, etc., etc., etc. So just by simply using AI, they've managed to build this really simple data center. And it is simple. I did this yesterday, I say live with these members yesterday. But what this particular recruitment company have done is they've then taken it and created customer dashboards. So now what they do is they sell to their customers these dashboards, £500 a month. You sign up for 12 months. It's a recurring revenue subscription. and you get access to this dashboard, which will tell you about everything that's going on in the market. It'll tell you about what's motivating different employees, what's happening, etc., etc. They've got AI to build all of this, so they don't have to produce anything at all. And it all sits in this lovely dashboard that they're giving customers access to. Now, a couple of things are happening. A, they're selling loads of these, which is great. 30, 40, 50, 60 of these, which is great. So imagine tomorrow, you suddenly got 50 or 60 customers paying you 500 euros or 1,000 euros per month on a 12-month contract to access all this amazing sentiment, this proprietary data that you've turned into this lovely dashboard using AI. Imagine also that money that they're charging for that doesn't have to come from a recruitment budget. So actually those companies who are saying to you, we're not hiring at the moment for whatever reason, or don't have budget, that's fine. We can use other budget to access these dashboards. But if you are going to start hiring again, when you do, because you've already been using us on these dashboards, we'll take some of the dashboard money off your first hire, which means now you're almost half selling to them without them even knowing about it, which now makes you truly sticky. So can you see that as a concept? Nothing flash or complex about that. And some of you may even be doing that, but the reality is these guys are monetizing this, creating a recurring revenue model, and it is a nice bit of blue ocean that nobody else is tapping into, which I think is exciting. We have this in our business. I get sent this message every week from my data center at TRN, which is sending us all the information about all the conversations we're having across the TRN community, who's speaking about what's going on, what are the key trends, etc., to allow me to then pass that back out to other recruitment leaders and to my marketing team and so on and so forth. You get the idea. By the way, all of this that you're seeing on the screen, all the stuff we're showing you here, all of this was created with two bits of tech. One was ChatGPT and one's an automation tool called make.com, and that was it. So this stuff is simple to do. It's not complicated at all. And you guys can all create this by this afternoon if you wanted to. But what an impact it will have on your business if you do so. Even if you gave it away for free, it just makes you sticky. Because we're not the only ones who are trying to identify the blue ocean marketplaces at the moment. I'm sure you're all familiar with the company Our Potential, which was the company that set up at the beginning of this year, which was the merger between Adecco and Salesforce. And in essence, what Our Potential does, and this is a very crude summary, is they are placing with their customers, they're not only placing contract candidates, but they're also placing contract AI agents and worker bots at the same time. Some of you are going, how do I get my head around that? But that's what they're doing, because they know, and we've seen this already, that we are probably the last ever generation of leaders who will have a workforce that's made up of just purely of humans. We're going to have workforces made up of humans and worker bots working side by side together. What these guys have done, and Our Potential, and this is the Adecco thing, is basically said there's a market there, let's go after it because it's uncontested. No other recruitment companies are doing it. We can go after it and potentially do this. And Sam Altman said the same thing, who was the founder of OpenAI. He said, when we see that the first AI agents will actually physically join the workforce and materially change the output of companies. And we are seeing it today. I've got it in my business. So our job, again, another skill of a recruiter, is to act like a true consultant to our customers and help our customers restructure their business to be relevant in the future market from a talent perspective. So when we talk about consultancy, to me, I don't think there'll be any great recruitment companies next year who won't have some form of monetized consultancy arm to their business. They're going into their customers and advising them on what they need to do around their talent strategies. If you think about it, you've got recruitment. If you imagine a big box, you've got recruitment at the bottom of the box. You've got all the big consultancies at the top of the box charging your customers today a whole load of ridiculous amounts of cash to help them understand their talent strategies moving forward, blending AI and everything else together. And in the middle is this beautiful white space. If you can start tapping into that white space and providing your customers a consultancy service, I think you're in a hugely successful opportunity to go and charge some really interesting margins. Again, we've got members of TRN who are doing that at the moment with real success, which is great. Some of them have got contractors out at the moment, hundreds of contractors out working with their customers, helping them restructure their talent strategies and then feeding back business to their recruiters who are back in the office again. And it's just a perfect storm model, if you think about it. So think about the new operating model in businesses, your company, your customers' companies as well. They will be made up of four things: client-facing humans, AI agents, offshore or remote support, and then a shared system or a data flow that sits underneath all of that type of thing. As one of our advisors said quite rightly, if you're designing your business right now around just adding in headcount and consultants alone, then you're building for the past. And it doesn't mean we don't bring in recruiters into our business. In fact, we need to bring in some more really good fit for purpose recruiters to come into our companies. But part of them being fit for purpose is their ability to embrace AI and use AI as part of that process as well, which we'll talk about shortly. So that's what a recruitment company, that's what your customers are morphing into. AI and worker bots, humans and humans offshore. And that is the model of the future. And that is where we're seeing that day in, day out at the moment. And your customers are trying to figure this out as much as anything else. Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit then. What does that all mean? We've got to restructure for relevance. So if you're building out org charts for your business or you're building out org charts for your customer's business, then you need to get away from the traditional org chart. They're not applicable anymore. The org chart needs to start looking a little bit more like this, which is a different type of org chart, but more fit for purpose than ever before, where you've got that core leadership team, your human roles, AI automation and shared processes sitting underneath that. Then you can start offering this as a service. So here's a collection of customers, recruitment businesses and organizations are servicing their customers at each of those different layers. So we've got someone like a Maven Search, is an executive search business that's recruiting core leadership teams. Someone like an InfoView that's placing all those mid-tier roles and those client-facing human roles. We've got a business like Virtrue, which is a recruitment business now that recruits people in South Africa and places them with their customers in the UK and into America. Someone like Our Potential, as I mentioned before, who are placing AI and automation roles. You've got a business like Bluebird, who's providing a shared tech platform for them to be able to manage their talent processes. And so it goes on and so it goes on. And then there are some businesses that are saying, actually, there is an opportunity to do all of this, which is on the left-hand side, is what we refer to as Total Talent Partnership, which is a new way of servicing your customers, going into your customers and saying, what do you need to build within your business? And it could be a component or a blend of all of these things. We can help you build all of this type of stuff in your business. Now, that is exciting as hell when you think about it. And for some of you, you're going, jeepers, James, that's miles and miles away. That's far, far too advanced for us. It's not. It's actually a lot simpler than you think, but you need to be starting to think in this way. Otherwise, you just won't be future relevant because you're saying, well, I only do one part of this process. Well, that's not what we need right now. We need a little bit more than just what you're providing, just temps or just perm, et cetera, et cetera. So think about your products, think about what you're building for the future, make sure your product offering is sticky, it's scalable, it's valuable, it's relevant. That's really important. How do you do that? Again, for the sake of the day, I'll keep it short and simple, but think about your profit drivers. So as a business moving into 2026, what's really important to you? Is it about creating more recurring revenue? Is it about locking customers in a long-term contract or locking them in embedded partnerships? Is it about squeezing more out of your customers, so you're doing more multi-hire projects, etc.? So it goes on and so it goes on. What are your profit drivers as a business? Then look at your pains of your markets. What are the things that your customers are concerned about, worried about, need help with right now? And then you add those two things together, that will help you build the product offering of the future that you need to be developing. And again, if any of you want any help with examples of other companies doing this, I'm really happy to share this with Anna and the team at ERF to pass on to you guys to have a look at, or I will be talking about it when I'm over in Ireland next month anyway, to walk you through some examples of this actually happening right now that you can literally plagiarize and copy. So think about this as a question to take away from today. Where is your blue ocean going to be? You can carry on fighting with all the other recruitment companies, all the other recruiters out there in the red ocean if you want to. It's going to get tougher and tougher and harder. The market might get a little bit better, but it's still going to be a bit of a bloodbath. Or at the same time, don't pivot completely, but let's identify maybe some blue ocean markets, some blue ocean products, some blue ocean services that we can tap into, uncontested market spaces. And there's a lot of them out there. Okay, but for us right now, let's go back to us as a business right now and our own businesses. So there's the org chart we're building out. I would hope that all of you on this call have started to figure out how to build AI agents that sit within your business, that are literally physically like worker bots within your companies that are delivering different products and services. Again, when I'm over next month, I'm going to be showing you how to build some of these actual agents. We had a whole day yesterday, we were building agents. Everyone, it was brilliant. But then at the same time, whilst we're building out the AI agents, which you'll all need to be doing, who are dropping into our org charts, there's a classic org chart, there's a new type of org chart. They're my AI agents sitting at the bottom, doing different tasks, doing different things. I've got Bob doing data, who's my data agent. I've got Chris, who's my outreach agent. I do give them names, by the way, I'm a bit weird like that. But these are like living and breathing worker bots within my business who are supporting my my offshore team and supporting my core team on the ground as well. But then above all of that, we then got to build our future fit recruiters. So this is not just about sticking AI everywhere right now. It's also at the same time making sure that the types of recruiters we have in our business are absolutely future fit. They are fit for purpose. They have the right skills, the right behaviors to be able to transact in this type of market, in a market where we're going to take away some of their admin and they're going to have to spend more time being a human recruiter as much as anything else. So we've got to really think about the skills and traits and behaviors of tomorrow's recruiter as we bring them into our business. And we've created a training program called the Future Recruiter. You can all help yourself to it. It's on our platform, TRM World. When I look at some of the sort of the training programs or the training modules within the Future Fit program, we looked at all the things that are happening within the market, the stuff that you see on the left-hand side. We then try to identify actually, therefore, what are the key skills a great recruiter should have and be able to service in tomorrow's market. And again, look at that stuff I've highlighted in yellow and make sure you're taking a screen grab of that if you're a recruiter or a leader or whatever, because you need to be thinking about, do I have these myself? Do I have these in my business? So things like, am I actually able to sell? Do I have these skills to be able to sell proper contract or annuity services? Do I know how to do proper consultative selling? If I'm getting in someone's boardroom, what am I going to do when I get in there? Am I just going to ask for a job, or am I actually going to consult with them properly in the right sort of way? Do we understand how to use AI with our sales skills and our personal branding and producing insights and even sourcing? You know, half of the sourcing processes now you can do brilliantly well. You can multiply by 100 times using some really cool AI tools that you can build yourself, and so it goes on. So think about the skills a great future fit recruiter will need to have in the future, and then put them in training through the ERF, all the courses that you offer, use some of our stuff, or whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter, but just make sure you're training your people and your guys and your girls on the right skills to make sure it's future relevant. This is one of our courses here, for example. And if I break it down in even the sales part, these are all some of the modules within the sales bit alone, you know, talking about adaptability and agility, really important. Better and different types of negotiation skills, how to do proper consultative selling, etc., digital literacy. These are skills that often we haven't taught our recruiters to do properly, but now they're becoming business critical. And again, all this stuff is here to help yourself too, if you want to be able to do that. So let's look at a quick example of this in action. I'll just pick one example just for a bit of fun, just to get you thinking a little bit differently about how you do it. I'm going to focus on the BD side because that has been a challenge for a lot of people. A lot of recruiters just don't know how to do BD properly. And the reality is a lot of people, when they're doing BD, that some of the stuff that we're doing just doesn't seem to work anymore. So what's going on? Why is it that all the BD stuff we used to do just doesn't seem to be getting the same traction or return as investors as it used to? Well, number of reasons. Our inboxes, when we're doing email campaigns, are completely saturated at the moment. Everyone's on some sort of bloody automation sequence scheme. And therefore, we've just got thousands and thousands of emails coming through every day, then wait 3 days, then wait 3 days, etc. But everyone's got so much going on. Let's be honest about it. Everyone's trying to figure out the world, prioritize what's going on in their personal life, their business life, and everything else. And sadly, a recruiter specking out a candidate is just not a priority for me right now. And then thirdly, think about things like cold calling. I don't know about you, but ever since COVID, my phone has been on silence. It just is. I just never have my phone. I never have a ring on my phone anymore. That's just a reality. So it's really hard to get through to people. And if your phone rings, I don't know if you've noticed it now on my phone, when a phone rings, it's an unrecognized number. My phone says it's suspected spam. I don't know how it even figures that out. It might be the hospital, for God's sake, but it's decided to call it suspected spam. Am I ever going to pick up a phone on silent that says suspected spam? Not a chance. So all those people who are cold calling me today have no chance getting through to me because my phone's telling them otherwise. And in fact, in the future, with the new iPhone, if you want to do a cold call, you have to type in first what the call is about. So when the call is ringing, I get this little message from you saying, "Hi, this is Greg, blah, 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 blah. This is whatever the call is about." So we need to be teaching our recruiters not only how to cold call better, but also how to write a really cool message to convince a person to answer the bloody cold call in the first place. Think about that. Think of the impact that's going to have on our ability to do cold calling in the future. And so it goes on. So I'm not saying all these things don't work. I'm not saying I'm not anti cold calling, all that type of stuff. But the reality is it's just not working as effective as it used to. We're confused. We don't know what to do. And therefore, we're just doing lots and lots of random busy stuff that's not really having any massive impact right now from a BD point of view. So how do we use ChatGPT? How many automations and touches should we have in our automations? What do I do on LinkedIn? Do I post pictures of my babies? Is it turning into Facebook? What do I do with it? I don't know. I just need to get traction for it. And so it goes on, and so it goes on. So we've got to really try and figure this out and figure it out quickly, because at the moment, there's a lot of disengaged recruiters doing a lot of BD stuff that's either annoying your marketplaces or it's just getting you spammed and banned. And that's going to really start killing some businesses very damn quickly. So the reality is, in this noisy BD, oversaturated BD world that we're in, which is very, very automated, I think it's really bloody hard to stand out with just a clever word on a script or an email. If you want to get your customers to be able to hang out with you, engage with you, and test drive your products and your services. It doesn't mean traditional sales activity don't work. The principles are still the same. Cold calling, meeting customers is still the same. In fact, we don't do anywhere near enough of it, but it just means they're not working as well as they used to, and we need to figure out the wrapping to be able to make it work better. Some stuff we do from a sales point of view is efficient. You can do loads of it because you can automate it, and some of it is highly effective. If you can get stuff that's highly effective and it's efficient, you're killing it. Most recruiters don't sit in that top right-hand corner box, sadly. So a lot of the activities we're doing just is not landing anywhere near as effectively as it should be, or we're just not doing enough of it. That's a reality check. Think about what does that look like? Quick example of this. Think about when you check your phone in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, most people, when they wake up, they lean over to the side of the bed, they get their phone out, they start checking their messages. Your personal messages first, then your business messages seem to be on your phone as well. So it's all merging in together. So you're now checking your messages and notifications when you're half asleep. Some people check them in the shower while they're half awake. So the reality is, if you just send a really cool sales email out to one of your customers, and your customer is probably half asleep when they're checking it, and they're not really thinking about it. So how's that going to stop them in their tracks to want to engage with you? We know if you look at the average person on their phone scrolls every day the equivalent of the Shard, 300 meters a day. They're scrolling through their phones. So we've now got people, you're sending out this really well-crafted email campaign to all your customers, your candidates, and we know that the people who are looking at that on their phones are half asleep in the shower and scrolling 300 meters at the same time. So literally, how the hell do you stop them in their tracks and be that purple cow? So they're going to go, whoa, what is this email about? Who is this recruiter? I need to speak to them. And if we can't answer that question, all the activity we're going to do is just not going to get the return on investment, and it's going to get slower and slower. It's going to get harder and harder to land. We talk about this in one of our programs called Social Scaling, which is our personal branding program, and how basically teach people how to do like beat the algorithms on LinkedIn, all that type of stuff. It's a free program that we don't charge for anything. And it's basically how do you build a proper personal brand that makes you stand out on things like LinkedIn to be a proper purple cow in your marketplace. We figured this out. We know how to get conversions from the right people and from your target customers, not just lots of likes and followers, because as I said, you posted a picture of a baby on instead. So let's be clear, cold calling works, it's still effective, but is it efficient? Automated marketing works, it's super efficient, but is it effective? If we can get these things right, working hand in hand, I think you can do an incredibly good job. And that's what being a future fit recruiter is about, is stop just doing random stuff and thinking about the markets and think what's going on, thinking about, well, actually, I'm rubbish at cold calling or email outreaching. So adding in a whole load of AI and automations is amplifying the fact to my market that I'm actually rubbish at cold calling, email outreach and CV specking, etc. And we see this time and time again, these rubbish emails going out. You probably paid some clever person to write for you. You know, here's an initial reach out, then you wait 3 days and some clever automation, then you wait 2 days, then you wait another 3. I'm just like, really? It's just dull as hell. It's boring, it's poor, it's not personalized, and it feels automated as much as anything else. The last one often says, is it me? And then you, oh my God, really? And this is what our industry is being dumbed down to right now. So we've got to stop all this type of stuff. That is not future fit. That is definitely not future relevant. The buying process has changed. We've got to change with it. How customers buy has changed. We need to change our sales process to be able to make that happen. And we've also got to think as well about that having a one size fits all approach to BD and sales does no longer work. It just doesn't work. Think about the different generations within our business. There's 5 generations now in our workforce. I picked 4 here, for example. How a baby boomer likes to buy, how to engage with you, is different from a Gen Z. We know that. So don't just have one way of selling, because if you've got one way of selling, it's only probably going to land for one type of generation, and the other generations just won't buy into it. So let's think differently about it. We've had an example of this where one of our members was spending so much time doing email campaigns and cold call campaigns, landing nothing. We looked at her generation that she was targeting. We looked at her ICP, her ideal customer profile, and then we adapted her sales approach, her outreach approach, something different. And now what she does is she creates these 25 to 30-second video WhatsApp messages that she sends out, because the majority of her market are Gen Z and millennials. They started responding in droves. It was brilliant because it was personalized, it was human. They're used to hanging out on WhatsApp. They're used to getting videos. You send me a video. I'm in the Gen X. I'm about to say baby boom. I'm not. I'm a Gen X. You send me a video as a Gen X, I'm going to think you're a weirdo. because that's not my demographic. So don't send me the video, but send it to your millennials or your Gen Z. You get the idea. So adapt your sales approach, your outreach approach to the different types of buying styles and the different types of generations, because what they expect is different from each other. One size does not fit all. And that's why I love these younger generations coming into recruitment now, these apprenticeships that we're doing at the ERF, etc., and bringing these people in, because what we're allowing us to do is understand how their generations actually like to work, because they're the generations we're going to be selling to and recruiting and finding jobs for, etc. So if I know those generations are hanging out in certain markets and certain places, that's therefore where I'm going to be hanging out as well. So look at the channels that you're using for your outreach. Is it Twitter? Is it WhatsApp? Is it Snapchat? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? I don't know why Tinder's on here, by the way. This is not my phone. But you get the idea. So actually, some of you will look at this and go, really? I'm not going to start running Instagram campaigns and Snapchat campaigns. But the reality is, if the majority of your candidates are on Snapchat, you bloody well get onto Snapchat and start understanding how you're going to use it properly, because that's where you will find some uncontested market space, because nobody else is there, because they're too busy trying to do it on LinkedIn and everything else where they're not hanging out. So understand that, where they're hanging out. Here's some demographics. We'll share these with you afterwards. And you can see 16 to 24-year-olds, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat, they're on WhatsApp. Not very much time on email, Facebook, or SMS. So if the majority of your outreach approach to 16 to 24-year-old demographic is on SMS, Facebook, and email, good luck, you've got no chance, or you've got a very small chance to be able to do so. This evolves the older you get. Obviously, it's different if you're a baby boomer and a Gen X, and et cetera, et cetera. But you start to understand a little bit about where they are hanging out, and that's where we should be going for. So ultimately, what I've tried to do today, and hopefully I've done it to an extent, is we need to think about our businesses. We need to make sure that the people that we are bringing into our industry, the recruiters that we are hiring, the recruiters that we are training, the apprentices that are coming in, we need to make sure they are future fit to be able to transact in these types of markets. And at the same time, we need to make sure that our businesses are going to be future relevant, so we are an attractive proposition for our customers, not someone that's just getting in the way of their day-to-day. Because, go back to my what if questions, what if this might just actually be one of the biggest opportunities you've ever had for you as a recruiter, your business, to take market share? And if you can figure that out, I think you're in a really, really successful place. And this is going to be a really great year ahead if you can get your head around that. So hopefully that's given you some insights today. I said I'll finish just in time. I think I've done. So there's an opportunity for, I suppose, a Q&A if anybody wants to have a Q&A or ask any questions. But Ed, I'll hand it back to you.
Brilliant. James, thanks so much. That was a 3-hour presentation delivered in incredible time. So much to get through there. So guys, if there are a couple of questions, we have a few moments, we can take some. I have one straight away out of the tracks, James, for you. I suppose there is a lot that we should be doing. Okay. Yeah. And what always happens, especially with, medium-sized recruitment firms, is that there are always conflicting priorities. There is always business as usual. So any business that wants to kind of, I guess, become future ready, James, what should they do from an organizational point of view to actually be able to achieve even 10% of what you're talking about?
So let's just keep this really, really simple. So rather than do what everyone else is doing at the moment and going, what are the new shiny things I can buy that might have an impact on my business? Let's just stop spending money and let's go backwards. Let's reduce everything we can, reduce costs, get rid of stuff we're not using, and go back to the basics. But let's ask ourselves the question, if we're going to do the basics again, consistently and brilliantly, which is what recruitment has always been about, then you just now need to identify what are the new basics. So your first question as an SME recruiter, as a solo recruiter, as a big company, is going, actually, what are the basics in our business in this type of market that we have to do consistently and brilliantly well every single day? That's where you start. And then you go, well, then how do we do that? What's preventing us from doing that? Is it the people? Is it because our people don't get it? They're not trained on it? They're not motivated to do it? Is it because we've got the wrong people? Is it because we don't have the tools or technology to be able to do it? What is that? But it always has been and always will be, do the basics brilliantly well and consistently well, and you will do really well in any marketplace. But you need to know what the basics are.
Very good, very good. That makes sense. We have a quick question here from Patricia. I guess it's an age-old question. Some organizations do split the BD activity from the actual sourcing and recruitment activity. I guess the 360 to the 180 recruiter. What's your opinion on that divide, James? Have you seen it work, not work?
Yeah, really simple. I'm not anti either. I just think it's the reality is simple. It's really bloody hard to find good 360 recruiters, number one. The really good 360 recruiters generally are running their own recruitment companies, because if they can do both, they might as well just go and set up on their own, which is what they do. We've got many so-called 360 recruiters that we're paying as 360 recruiters who seem to spend more time doing one or the other and not both. And my issue I have, and we saw this bite so many people on the backside the last couple of years, is I need to walk into a recruitment company and go, who is responsible, who is accountable for sales in this business? And if someone can't tell me that, then I get concerned. So the businesses I advise, I've always said to them, have a hybrid. If you can find great 360 recruiters and keep them, absolutely bloody brilliant, do so. But at the same time, if you want to build a real scale, I need someone in the business who owns sales, and in fact owns RevOps, so sales and marketing and account penetration. And I want a really bloody good delivery function. And they are different things potentially. But ultimately, you go into many recruiters in recruitment companies and you go, where's your sales strategy? Haven't got one. Why not? Well, no one's really done one. Well, whose job is it to do it? I don't know. We all, I suppose, okay, not good enough, doesn't happen. So yeah, for me, if there was a flush of great 360 recruiters out there, I'd say I'm all over it like a rash, but there aren't. Again, I've just been judging the ERF awards. I've been interviewing some of them, and there's been some really bloody good ones, and they really stand out. They really, really do. That's not the norm in our market, sadly. There aren't that many of them.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, very good. So guys, have we any other questions out there? Not at the moment. I was very interested in net contribution percentage, James, when you brought it up, because it's not something that I've seen consistently measured out there in the Irish market. Maybe some of the larger firms do. Do you know what's the actual formula behind that?
Well, if you're looking at net contribution for a recruiter, then you're looking at their overheads, their costs, their OTE, and any particular anomalous stuff. So, for example, I might have a recruiter who was billing 180,000 euros last year. They're billing 210,000 euros this year. But this year, they've also tapped an offshore resourcer who's supporting him on that. So actually, who's paying for that resourcer? Well, they should be paying for that resourcer, either in increased revenue or cost or otherwise. I've got a little spreadsheet calculator, which again, I'm very happy to share with Anna to send out to everyone if they wanted to use that. And you can literally pump in the data and it will tell you the net contribution per recruiter. But it's the same thing with your candidates, the same thing with your placements, same thing with your clients as well. The vanity metrics of our industry have always been the same, right? It's always been what's your turnover, what's your head count, how many offices have you got? A lot of people learned the last couple of years that means nothing. I don't care. And going to an event, going to an ERF event and saying my turnover is bigger than yours, it just doesn't wash anymore. Really, and to be fair to the Irish, it doesn't happen as much in the Irish. It does in the UK, I tell you. So actually, to me, what's really important now is the sanity stuff. Now, how much conversion, profit, cash are you generating? Your recruiters, what value are they really bringing to the bottom line of the business? And that to me is the most important thing.
Superb. Right, guys, I think we might leave it there. James, I've been 25 years in recruitment and I always learn something when I'm listeing to you. So thanks so much for today. We really enjoyed it. And as Anna mentioned in the chats there, guys, the recording link will be available to everyone later. So look, thanks again, James. Fantastic. And looking forward to seeing you in Dublin sometime very soon. Okay, November. What's the date in November?
Leading up to the ERF Awards. I'll be over for the awards as always with my Movember moustache. As I tend to do, but there's a couple of days beforehand we're going to come run a couple of events with the guys at ContractingPLUS and with the ERF as well. So love to see everyone on the call today. Want to come along to that? We're going to be building some AI agents and doing all sorts of fun stuff. So it should be good. Super duper. Thanks a million, James. Looking forward to it. And guys, thanks again to the team at ContractingPLUS, for Anna and the team, the events team of the ERF for organising this. And look, if you're working with contract professionals, make sure you're chatting with the team in ContractingPLUS about how they can support you with your umbrella and limited companies. So guys, have a lovely day. I hope the sun comes out and it stops raining here in Dublin. And James, we'll see you soon. Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.